Good afternoon. My name is Shannon Gregory, and I'm the Satilla Riverkeeper. I wanted to give you guys a brief update on what is going on surrounding the odor smell that is circulating around Waycross right now. I can confirm that I have completed water quality assessments throughout the Satilla watershed all week long, specifically Wednesday, Thursday, as well as today. I have sampled extensively between the city of Douglas and the city of Waycross. A very special shout out and thank you to the various property owners that allowed me access to their properties so that I could get to the river for sufficient sampling. All of the water quality levels all this week have been within the normal standard ranges. So there's nothing to indicate that there is any harm occurring to the Satilla River. The smell seems to be a petroleum-based smell, and it could come from a variety of different factors. Typically, if this were an oil spill or a fuel spill into the river, you would notice a rainbow sheen on the surface of the water. That's our first indication that there is no interaction between whatever this smell is and the water. I went out first thing this morning to start sampling the water. I started downstream and worked my way upstream to Douglas. Another defining characteristic is there is no smell associated when you're near the river. Yes, there are pockets of air, throughout the city where you do get that smell, but I can tell you that I was stomping around in the river all day today, and not once in the river did that smell hit. Now, I started my water quality sampling at 7 a.m. to get a better handle so I could locate where this smell was coming from. And I can say with absolute certainty that nothing is indicating any type of contamination of the Satilla River at all. There are no active fish kills. The oxygen levels are absolutely beautiful. In fact, I saw several people out there fishing and became a little envious, but that's okay. There's no indications at all that the river is being impacted. The problem with looking for a smell is smells are invisible. Think of it as though you're in a closed room, crowded with a lot of people, and someone were to pass gas. You know it happened, but you don't know exactly who did it. That's kind of what we're dealing with on a much larger scale. We're trying to track a smell that doesn't have any type of coloration, and so it's hard to look for something invisible relying solely on your nose. One of the things that we're seeing, our nights are a lot cooler than our daytime temperatures right now. That cold air overnight traps in odors. So that's why the smell is more predominant during the nighttime and early morning hours, which is exactly why I started sampling so early this morning. We want to track down what is the cause of this. As our air temperatures increase throughout the day, then we notice that smell dissipates. There are several different things that could be at play here contributing to whatever the smell is. I definitely believe that it is some type of petroleum or petrol-based something. We just don't know what it is yet. The smell is very similar to another pollution report that I assisted the Altamaha Riverkeeper in examining just a few years ago, where there was an underground fuel tank that had ruptured and was leaking. It ruptured simply because, this is older infrastructure and things degrade over time. So it wasn't necessarily somebody dumping something into a water body. These are just natural things that unfortunately happen. So I tend to think that perhaps this could be an underground fuel tank of some sort that possibly has eroded away over time that is releasing that smell. The other thing that I'm thinking this could possibly be, we've had warmer weather, we've had a little bit of rainstorms, and it is also prescribed burn season. We've had a lot of prescribed burns and controlled burns occurring all throughout the watershed. But my fear is we also have a huge problem with illegal dumping. It is not uncommon to find a stash of tires here, there, and everywhere that's hidden, that have been dumped illegally. And I believe possibly that maybe in one of these prescribed burns, maybe the foresters responsible for the fire were not aware of some tires that had been illegally dumped. So maybe those tires are burning, which is emitting that smell. These are all possibilities, and these are all things that are being examined right now. But I can say with certainty that there is no threat or contamination in the Satilla River at this point. There is a lot of false information, conspiracy theories that are out there floating around. Please put those to rest. This is not some grand scheme cover-up or anything like that, because there's too many factors when you step back and think about it from a logical perspective. If this were some type of cover-up or anything like that, the city of Waycross and Ware County would not have actively notified EPD or EPA right off of the rip. And those agencies were notified immediately to get down to the bottom of this situation. So that indicates right off that there's no type of cover-up, because we're all working together to get to the bottom of this solution. We're just kind of chasing this invisible smell at the moment. And it takes time. By spreading all of the false information and whatnot, you're actually hindering the search process when we need to be helping. Obviously, if you observe the smell, please notify the officials. Let them know where exactly you smell it and what it smells like, to help us track down the origin of this odor. Because anytime the wind blows, those fumes, that smell will carry with the wind. Again, I want to thank all of the property owners who allowed me access to their property. Without that, I wouldn't have been able to do as thorough of a job sampling this morning. So thank you very much. I do want to thank the city of Waycross as well as Ware County for stepping in and doing exactly what they should have done. They followed the normal protocol that they should have followed. And they also reached out to the Satilla Riverkeeper for additional testing. Kudos. I wish everybody would do the same thing. So you guys have done a really stand-up job. In addition, I want to go ahead and address the issue with the ESG facility, the wastewater treatment facility that's here in Waycross. I specifically targeted this morning, first thing, right where the wastewater treatment facility is. I sampled in both Caney Branch as well as downstream of the Satilla River, where the discharge is then put into the Satilla River. Nothing abnormal was found, nor was there a smell. And again, I want to remind you that I sampled first thing this morning when that smell would have been the heaviest. So there's no indication at all that the ESG facility is responsible for this. There's a very distinct difference between the smell of a sewage facility and that which is petroleum-based. So it's not the wastewater treatment facility. I also want to address the issue with the wastewater release that occurred in Douglas just a few weeks ago. This is in no way connected. What happened in Douglas was just a simple failure of a manhole. The manhole caved in. There was not an active sewage release that was released into 17 Mile River. There were no indications of any type of sewage release impacting 17 Mile nor the Satilla River. So this was all, very, very, very small scale, and in no way, shape, or form are the two items related at all. Again, thank you to the city of Waycross, and thank you to Ware County as well. You guys have been doing a stand-up job. Thank you so much.